right. So we just watched Senseless, and now I'm joined by the writers, Sam Mason Bell,
Hello.
also directed, and Jackson Batchelor.
Hello.
Hello. Now, I'm not just saying you guys because you guys are here, but I love Senseless. I honestly think this is your best movie I've seen so far.
Oh, thank you, man.
Cheers.
Oh, and I also like the shirt.
Well, support.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I need to get a Trash Arts for it. By the way, I was saying Trash Arts. Is this an official Trash Arts film?
Yeah, this was Trash Arts. We also had support from Gorilla Girl and Gorilla Girl Productions and HB Films. So it was a good collaboration during the horrible time that was the pandemic.
Yeah. I'm curious what the script looked like because, there's not a lot of dialogue and it's a lot of just one character stuff. So when you first had the script, like how long was it and did you know it would be a feature?
I can't remember how long it was.
No, it was. I mean, we wrote it out in notes essentially. It was bullet points of what would happen next and where we'd go, and then sort of I suppose the shot list took over from there of how it sort of shaped in some ways. It was very, very loose the way that we approached it.
Yeah, it was also like most of our films. There's an element of improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of, each bullet point we'd run through with Ryan doing the scene. And because we wanted, I wanted to play with emotion rather than dialogue by allowing how he's actually experiencing to come out in the performance and not force feed him going, oh, I'm alone. What do I do? How do I help? All that kind of stuff. So it kind of gave him room to just play with it. And yeah, like I think with a lot of the scripted stuff, we didn't necessarily have a running length in mind. It was just kind of like, especially for the strange green screen stuff that we did, it was sort of loosely wrote, and then it was like, well, how long is it going to be? Well, we'll just find out. We'll just see where we go with it.
Yeah. So, well, you mentioned during COVID, so a few things there. So, how long did it actually take to finish? Because there's a lot, I assume, for post production on this one.
Yeah, like we shot it in 2020 in August, and it didn't get finished until May 2022. And it was a lot. For one, the sound design and the score done by Craigus Berry. He did every single element for that, and he is a very intricate guy. And he used so many different kind of instruments. And it took me a long time to be happy with the strange ghost worlds. I was like, it took a long time to just play around with different effects and just see what can work. And then we shot some extra material like a year later because I felt like that we needed more within that strange world.
I mean, at the time, Sam was using a computer that could barely run Adobe Premiere Pro. So it was an absolute nightmare. We couldn't watch the sort of effect scenes at all. Like, we just couldn't watch them.
I'm aware of these kind of things. Just a side note: once you get a computer that can run all the Adobe, you're like, oh wow, this can do a lot of things with After Effects and Premiere Pro. And
you gotta wait for the render time,
and you don't have to wait a week for it to render or something.
It's ridiculous.
You save time, but you find more work to do.
That's true, because then you have all these cool toys you can play with.
Yeah.
The actual production was 5 days in the woods and 1 day with the green screen stuff with Ryan. Mm-hmm. And then for all the ghosts, because again, it was during COVID and this was like August 2020, so it's like right in the middle. We set up a little bit of a green screen thing in our garden and had a few people come in during playing with being part of the COVID rules and making sure not too many people and all that. And then we also just kind of opened up to anyone to send us green screen sequences. So I'd have as many ghosts as possible, was also doing the same thing for the audio. And we got like loads of different people sending us stuff because I wanted this just this stream of potentially there's so many different faces in the mist. It wasn't just stuck to the realm of what he knew. There was just everyone has had this point of being lost.
Mm.
No, yeah, all the effects look good, both like the digital stuff and the practical stuff. All of it really, it all blended well. Then you had like great animation too.
Yeah, it was cool with the animation. Someone we work with called India Kim, she just took on that whole entire scene, and we've never done an animated scene before. So it's storyboard, and I hate storyboarding, so that was different. Sending a little blob people that you got to go. Does that make sense? does each shot make sense? But yeah, she kind of ran with it, and yeah, she just sounded really groovy and kind of different for like for what, yeah, like I don't know. It works, like it complemented itself, but it was very different when put with the music and stuff. It gives this almost breather at the point in the story, even though it's the point when, you know, he's being completely broken down.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny you mentioned COVID because I didn't even put that together, you know, really, because there's essentially one character. There's a couple other, but primarily it's like 90% of the movies to one character. And I think people thought during COVID we were going to see all these like Zoom movies where it'd just be people on but I think people got really creative with projects to do during COVID.
Yeah, well, we sort of, I mean, like all of our projects were obviously had to be postponed over that year, so we were just sort of left with this free time and no idea what to do, and so we wrote Senseless and worked on it, like got it built very quickly, and Ryan lived with us at the time, so we just sort of worked as a household, and you couldn't really, they couldn't stop us doing things as a household, so it was fine.
Yeah.
And we had to keep within sort of certain restrictions of only 5 people on crew or 6 people on crew at any time. It was quite, even though it was outside, so it was quite a difficult shoot. But a lot of fun sort of playing with those ideas because we were thinking about sort of nightmares and the way that, you know, during COVID. With the lockdowns, we found that like a lot of people were having like nightmares, and I had quite a lot of nightmares, and you do.
I think Yeah, and it was also exploring like panic attacks and that idea of fight or flight and how people respond and react. And obviously during that time of COVID, we saw a lot of reaction. A lot of people reacted in mad, crazy ways. But at the end of the day, we were all just sort of lost. And I think it was interesting to explore a character trying to escape something and going into something, not knowing that they're walking into something much more evil that just wants to like rip them apart. Mm-hmm. It's quite fun to play with surrealism horror with minimalistic actors because you kind of let your brain go, well, where are we going to go? And then you find the creative way to tell it without really thinking about budgets. Mm-hmm. You just go, well, how am I trying to say this, and what can I represent it with? Yeah. And we had a lot of opportunity with this film to do that.
And we tried to sort of keep the narrative loose as well, because we wanted it to be sort of a kind of film where different people walk away with a different idea of what it was about and what happened, you know, what was the sort of motivation behind all of it, and sort of kind of encourage discussion in that way, because I think that's kind of an interesting thing that film can do is make people talk about those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, even after you said that, thinking about watching it again, it does have it gives you a feeling of like you're kind of lost and meandering around and not, you know, kind of aimless, not knowing what's coming, especially like the first half hour or 40 minutes of the movie.
That's the thing, and for some people, like it doesn't connect. When we had a screening of it at Horror on Sea, half the audience loved it, and the other audience didn't get it and thought, what was the point of it? And it's like, that's fair enough. It's you know, it's something that we want you to go along with the journey, and if you can't connect with that, that's fair. It's not.
That's a better reaction though than if everyone's just like, nah, whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like one guy, a guy called Darryl Buxton, he said it was like the 2001 Space Odyssey.
I actually wrote that in my notes too, especially near the end. Yeah.
And that was such that stunned us. It was just like, whoa. And it just felt really cool because most people who've enjoyed it, in all truthfulness, have been people who like drugs. A lot of druggies love it, you know. Like Simon adores it. Simon Berry, he loved that film. Like
we're outing Simon here. Straight edge. On that topic, was there any drugs involved in writing it or creating?
I mean, there's always drugs involved with writing. Obviously, not exactly where you are, but yeah, like smoking is part of how we create, and it's one of the reasons why he has that break point with the cigarette. A cigarette to us, or when creating, you take a break away from something and you think it through and you try to come to a decision. And that's why there is an element of smoking which is important to it. But we knew we couldn't just have him like having a big old joint. It would just look a little bit ridiculous and be a bit out of character.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think
It
it's not like
suddenly
we went
becomes like a
on
Cheech and
the
Chong
time.
movie or something. But yeah. But no, it's well, actually, where I am, it's legal here. Even in my town, they just opened a recreational, which before was just medical. But yeah, you can get everywhere now. They're even trying to do legalize or decriminalize mushrooms, which is what they originally did with marijuana. Then eventually, became legal.
Yeah, it was legal to get mushrooms back in before 2010 in this country, and then I don't know, like, things get more and more conservative over in the UK. So
Yeah, unfortunately, but who knows? Maybe things will go back a different way. So that must have been cool because when I was watching it, I actually did think. Well, I think all movies are better on the big screen, obviously, but this especially because I think you could just sit back with no distractions and you'd be lost in the movie. So similar to watching 2001. Now that you mention it.
that's the idea, though, isn't it? Because if you're making a film that is a journey, you've just got to sit back and embrace what's about to happen to you, and that means those points where, the character's confusion of just meandering to the points where it's just like, well, what the fuck's going on? That you just have to sit there. You're not being driven by the narrative necessarily. You're being driven by the character and the feeling and experience they're going through.
Yeah, and I think like it's a kind of film where everything's so weird and strange that actually the audience needs a bit of time sometimes to work out or to think about things and to sort of like go, this has been on the screen for a long time. What other associated things like do I think of when I see that? And it's sort of like it gives more. I think sometimes gives more when you're just left with one isolated thing and you're just left to think about it.
Also, I think with Craigus' score as well, like it's a beautiful score, and sometimes you just need to sit back and listen.
Sometimes people overlook that when they talk about seeing a movie in a theater because it's not obviously the visual. Also, not being able to escape, I think, because you're right there, unless you're an asshole and you just get out your phone and do everything. But you're gonna be, and the sound though, because you're surrounded by the music and the sound of going on. So all that I think really enhances the movie.
Yeah, totally. It's the Koyanowski kind of effect, where you are just watching a visual experience that is completely connected to the story. I like the idea of to know that the soundtrack in itself is its own form of art as well as the film existing. Like Pink Floyd The Wall. The film, it works so beautifully and it has those points like the animation and all that kind of stuff where it just goes off on its own little journey to then connect back to the emotional state of the character. I just think it's a rare thing to be able to explore, and horror has all the opportunities to bring in those surrealist emotional journeys because it's all hyperactive as it is anyway, and it's the operatic kind of Argento sort of thing where it just goes off on wherever the hell wants to go, and it pummels you into an experience. And I think more people shouldn't be scared to go that way.
Did her score did that shape the movie after you had it made? Did that change it at all?
I think the thing with Craigus is that we spent a long time working directly with him, and we basically like, so every scene we would talk through what the scene was, and he would think of all these different music representations and all the little sound designs. So from after the edit, he was in every stage, and he actually took over from someone doing the music. He was just going to do the sound design, so we had him on board from the beginning. And one of the influences on the film, Tom Lee Rutter, who did Day of the Stranger, I loved the freedom he had when he did that acid western, and Craigus scored it. So we kind of like connected up through him. And like the story was always there, but the music was always like, how far can he go with his journey? And we tend to do like time-coded references for each bit of where we want the sound to go. I sent him a lot of, I can't remember his name, Johansson. The guy did Mandy.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
I love that score. So
oddly enough, I'm actually wearing my Cheddar Goblin.
Nice. And that's it. It's a great score, and it's a great journey kind of score, because he's going on his revenge journey. So it was a nice sort of template for Craigus to work from.
And so when you were writing it, did you have Ryan in mind for the lead?
I think, well, I mean, we didn't have many choices, but like having worked with Ryan many times, and with Decline in particular, I knew that you could just stare at his face and there's some shit going on behind those eyes. And I think for a film like that, you wanted to just let his face tell the story, or let his panics make you feel that, you know, like.
Yeah.
I think Ryan's incredible at conveying that sort of thing.
We had him in mind sort of immediately when we started writing it. So we were writing it kind of knowing what he could do in a scene. And I remember him. He came downstairs one day, and we turned around to him and said, "Oh, we've written you a burial scene. We're going to bury you alive, man." And he didn't like the sound of that to start with. But no, he eventually got on board, and it was quite horrible though, being buried in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the night with all bugs crawling around you and everything.
I would assume so. I think I'd be more weirded out if he's like he really loved being buried out in the woods.
Yeah,
with the bugs on him.
That's true.
Be like, oh, that's kind of an odd dude, but. Is it weird directing him in this movie? Since especially the parts where it's him walking and stuff. Like, how do you actually go about directing someone in a scene like that?
I think like the one thing was making sure, because he wanted to vocally respond to things. He wanted to like go no and things like that, and it was just like, you don't need to do that. When the camera's going to follow you towards this point, you're going to slowly walk into this point, and then when we get to here, usually there's a lot of like long shots that then cut into another sequence. In a lot of sequences from the beginning where he's walking and talking, we told him that we're going to have the audio of the argument. You've left some situation. You're walking away from something. It's in your head to the point where you get lost and you drop your phone because you're reacting. So it's kind of like you break down the story as you're going through each moment, which is really freeing when it comes to directing, because it's almost like a silent movie. You know, I'm not doing it when we're filming, but beforehand, I'm going, this is the narrative. You just got to follow through with that and do it without speech. Do it through movement. Do it through, little noises and little breaths. And yeah, like he just completely understood it. And yeah, like there wasn't too much of a fight for him to constantly fall into a random line. He just had a lot of trust and faith in what we wanted to do. And just, yeah, it just worked quite nicely.
Hmm.
I assume when he saw the finished film, what did he think, Ryan?
Well, because Ryan was living with us, so he saw little bits and bobs. And Ryan's one of those typical actors who can't watch himself because he gets all like uncomfortable and thinks, "Oh, I could have done this, I could have done that," and humble to a point where you're like, "Okay, you're good. Just accept you're good." So yeah, I think I don't know what his full response was on it.
Yeah, this would be a hard one for him to watch, and if he doesn't like to see himself. He's like, I'll watch 30 seconds of the film, but the rest of it, I'm out.
I think it must be weird for someone like Ryan to be in a film like that as well, because a lot of the scenes, like the bit where his face pulls out in the ghost mist, I was like, all right, stand there, and I just want you to just do all these emotions as if your face is slowly being stretched out. And I remember during that, I was saying to him, all right, it's getting worse now, it's getting nastier. It's like, but don't move. Because if you move, you're ruining the shot. So every little inch of his face has just got to move without his body instinctively wanting to do something. So he has no idea what the fuck I'm planning to do with that visually for at least 2 years ago. That's when you were doing that, that's what that was for. I felt like a lot of that with the film, where he was just like, we said, right, do this weird thing. Pretend that you're a doppelganger. Do this. And he just had to run with it and just hope that we knew what we were doing. So
this is Simon. It says Facebook. He wrote Simon Berry. I believe this was in reference to drugs earlier.
Oh, yeah. The trip sense of drugs, you know.
All right. So, it's shot really well too. Technically, did you use different cameras or the same equipment you would use?
We were a bit mad and shot it all on a DSLR. So the getting the light right in the woods was quite difficult. But we sort of decided quite early on. Obviously, it was very dreamy and strange, so we weren't too worried about keeping the lighting to sort of look real, to look like it was coming from the moon or anything. So we kind of lit things as we wanted to light them, which allowed for a lot of movement around the scene and sort of like something going on in the background. So it just gives it a bit more depth of field and felt sort of more alive, really. and that you see the forest in the background a lot. I wanted that to sort of come across so that you don't just feel like you're in the darkness with someone, because it can be so easy to do that in the woods.
Yeah.
Was there anyone ever come around when you were filming? I know it's during COVID, but being out in the woods.
No one.
No, we didn't have
Not
anyone.
It was dead quiet. Like the scene where Ella was screaming all the stuff at Ryan when he's just stuck there. I remember just hearing her voice everywhere and thinking, shit, if anyone was around, they're going to hear this, because
it's really bad.
It's like 2 a.m. in the morning, because we had to shoot, being that it was summer, we had to shoot everything from 10 p.m. to like at least 5 a.m. because we just had no choice. So in the summer at nighttime during COVID, it was just peaceful. You'd see deers and stuff and like nature that wouldn't necessarily be out so much beforehand. We were just there doing our job, essentially.
Yeah.
I remember walking, I still walk, but walking a lot during that time, and it was a weird feeling because no one was around, and even when everything was closed, so you didn't hear any of the noises you normally hear. And I remember I could actually hear the water underground moving, which like you normally can't hear just because stuff's going on. And it was just a very strange, sometimes it was kind of creepy and sometimes it was just calm, but it was a definitely weird feeling during then, especially when things started and no one knew like how bad things were going to be.
Yeah, that's the thing with nature as well. Like there's a calmness of, oh, look, the trees, it's lovely and stuff. But then when it starts getting dark and you don't know where each sound's coming from, it's like terrifying, almost betrays you.
Yeah.
I think, like even Ryan felt like when we were filming, I remember one scene where we were like, right, run down there. And it was just darkness. And he was just like, well, what's down there? Like, I don't know, just go down there. Then just
We'll
scared
find out,
and just run down there.
Method acting, yeah, you'll be. I like that, yeah. How about the actual like gore effects? Because those were great.
Well, we got Katie Johnson, who's done most of our films, because we wanted to, this is still a horror film, and we wanted to kind of embrace that more practical effects with the violence and the monsters in particular, with that 80s kind of vibe. And yeah, like the symbol thing that's on his chest, Ella, who was Diane, she did most of like the Wicca kind of symbols, all the occult symbols that are on the tree, and she designed the bloody thing, gave it to Katie, and then she made the molds and stuff. So I can't remember what it represents, but she did some research that directly connected to the story, and that's why that symbol's there. But it's some sort of weird satanic symbol that connects with like starting off something, or I can't remember what. But yeah, like there was some cool details and that sort of stuff, and like with some of the violence, it's how far of like how strange it is in his head. Like when the doppelganger's attacking her and stuff with the machete, it doesn't need to be like extreme shots of it, because you see the results and the emotional release of when he's actually face to face with seeing his like the one that he loves being lost. So you get to explore like rather than just having a more 80s gore shot where you see the thing go into her face and stuff. It's all from his perspective. So it's more about what he doesn't want to see because he's trying to wince away from it. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and I think there's a sort of strange and dark, maybe sick sense of humor about the film, that even when like he's doing that sort of those kind of hits, there's a sort of almost cartoonish element to what he's doing and the way that he's doing it. Like it's horrifying, but at the same time kind of odd and
yeah, that almost the Evil Dead kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And then the vines too, which I thought.
yeah.
So when you got people involved to be the ghost, like Todd Yeager, our buddy here, who was watching with us, that's interesting because you guys are in the UK, obviously, and you're getting people involved, all over the world.
Yeah, it was basically giving them free emotions to express. I think the first one was the loss, calling out to try and work out where they are. The second one was the reaction of fear of knowing that the thing that's bad's there, and the fourth one was trying to warn Ryan's character. So you know that you're going to get loads of variations of that kind of emotional response, and that was kind of interesting to not just expect it to be like direct lines that they had to say. They would say it in their own way. And with the ghosts, that was interesting because we had a whole college do a bunch of ghosts in the UK, and then we had ghosts all over the place, and And it was just trying to put as many of them in there as possible because everyone had put their time into the film. So even if you're like there's just like this little bit in the background, it's still part of that one conscious ghost thing. Sorry, the cat won't shut up.
No, I hear. I very rarely do we not have an animal appearance on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think with what was happening during COVID, obviously we were getting people to shoot footage for us and send it into us from this country. So we thought, well, there's no difference in getting it from anywhere in that case. And so it's sort of like, although it was a restriction, it sort of opened up the world in some ways and changed that kind of barrier that's usually there.
And yeah, you also have a physical release for Senseless, which I don't think you always put your films on physical, do you?
It all depends on distributor. Luckily, with Senseless, we went with Darkside releasing. It's been out on Blu-ray for quite a while. It's set to be released on Tubi in the summer, I believe, in July. So hopefully, I'll get some more eyes on it. But yeah, the physical copy. That's got some extras on it where Craigus explains how he did each bit of the score with him actually recording on the instruments and stuff. And it's just fascinating watching his process. Of like, 'cause he just kept sending me videos, but I found this instrument and I'm doing this with it. And you're like, well, all right, cool.
Yeah. No, that's pretty wild.
He almost talks another language when you're trying to, like, he's just suddenly talking about all this musical technical stuff, and you're like, I have no idea what you're saying, but it sounds great. Go ahead.
Well, I've been recommending it to people who couldn't make it tonight because I honestly thought it was great. Not just because you guys are here and I like everybody involved, but no, I really thought it was your best movie.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So I hope people check it out, and I know a lot of weird people who I think it would appeal to.
That's good. Weirdos. That's our jam.
Yeah. You had that hat on at the beginning with the weirdo.
Yeah. I got a little hot with it here, but I'll put it back on.
Yeah.
Well, no, it says Odrium because it's backwards.
Oh, I have it actually on upside down. That's why. Do it. I don't know.
Odrium sounds like you'd hear something
weird.
Like the record going backwards.
I see. I had it inside out, basically. All right, here we go.
There we go.
Although that was kind of cool, I guess. It'd be like an old, like, they used to say you'd play the albums backwards and they tell you to, do something bad to yourself or something. So, yeah, that works out. So, what do you guys work on currently?
At the moment, we're wrapping up Jackson's second film, I Curse This Land, which is more of an entertainment kind of folk horror movie.
Yeah, sort of more comedy in there, a bit of romance, but more sort of mainstream than Senseless. I've got to say.
But it gave us a good chance to like really do some more elaborate scare pieces and work with set pieces with our witch and stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're sort of aiming for much more with this film is to get those scares right, get the jump scares and the sort of tension building and all of that kind of stuff. Just yeah.
That's
hopefully
really
it will make people jump. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's exciting. And what are your plans to do with that? Do you want to do festivals again, or?
Yeah, I
think we're hoping to do a few festivals, but we'll be. I'm not sure what we're planning for later on of that, or whether we can we talk about it. I don't know.
I think we're just going to look into some distribution options for it because again, as it's as it's like more entertainment based than necessarily like an art house or an exploitation film. We're hoping it'll open up a few more like fields, as it were. Because we did another film for James Cullen Brazak, Devil May Care, earlier in the year, which was purely a spook tale entertainment, almost like a Goosebumps episode, like a 90s Goosebumps episode, which is completely not us. And we've also got our body horror incessant, the Sound Parasite film, which is a horrible experience. I mean, I'm proud of what we did, but it's a horrible experience because it's all this sound parasite and it's just this almost tinnitus sound. And Ben Farron did an amazing job with the sound.
Yeah, it sort of comes in throughout the film, and you sometimes feel like I need to step away because this is giving me a bit of a headache. But yeah, I think it is an experience. It's not a film that you necessarily watch and rewatch.
It's nasty. So we're trying different things. We're trying to just broaden the kind of stories we want to tell and the kind of craft we want to explore.
That's cool. And that's cool that you work with a lot of different people from the States. I've had James on the show a few times. And I know you did the remake of what was the movie? I'm sorry.
Terror Blatchley Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I love working with some of the American filmmakers that we get a chance to work with, and a lot of it came from, again, just like networking during the COVID time when I started chatting to you and everyone. And like, sometimes people want jobs to be done very quickly, and they appreciate our skills, so we can just like kind of jump in and do the job for them. And for us, it gives us the chance to firstly explore new actors for roles, but also bring in the actors that we love and give them an opportunity to get some new eyes on what they're doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these films obviously star Annabella Rich and Chris Mills in our recent films, but it also gives a chance to get Simon in a few things as well. And all of our releases, we've been able to like shoehorn them in. They're brilliant actors; they're amazing. But
it's nice working with the same people, because you just know that they're gonna bring something to it, and especially smaller characters, because it's just a trusted pair of hands, and you go like, oh, I know that scene's not going to be too ropey. Like I can, it's good.
Yeah, I was happy I got to meet Annabella Rich at last year at the big festival there.
Fright Fest.
Fright Fest.
Yeah, I really wanted to meet you on that day, but things didn't work out.
Yeah, I understand.
Horrible film. I obviously won't be able to.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go back to the UK. No one really cares, but there's a new airline that's open. Right now, they're just flying out of New York, and it's like round trip for like $240. It's crazy cheap. And they're going to start flying out of Boston starting in September. And so I'm very excited about that.
You have to tell us when. We'll have to make sure that we can get to you. I mean, it's still a country where we have to drive and get to places.
Right.
That's
like the United States is even bigger. It's to say, I'm in the States. Well, yeah, I mean, that could be many different places. But yeah. But no, we'll try to work something else. The point is, it's going to be a lot more affordable for people here to go to the UK, which I'm excited about. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's all right.
I enjoy it. Everything. Like, so I live on Cape Cod, and during the summer, it's so crowded with tourists because everyone thinks it's great to come here. But I live here, so it's in my mind, it's really nothing special. That's how everything always is. If you live there, you probably think, whatever.
That is true. I think it depends on what parts you go to as well. It's see the nice things.
Everywhere's nice.
Exactly. All right, so where can people find? We said Senseless has the Blu-ray, and hopefully it'll be out on Tubi eventually.
Mm-hmm. It should be out in July on Tubi, and Dark Side releasing. You can buy the physical copy, and I believe you can watch it on their Vimeo channel as well. But double check on that. I might be wrong.
All right. Yeah, and if you watch it here, I'll be taking it down quick, so don't think you can just keep watching it on here.
It's a shame we can't keep it on longer, but that's how these things.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. And where can people follow you to see what you're up to?
I mean, go. I think
back to your house.
Always here, but I believe it's Trash Arts UK for Facebook. On Twitter, it's Trash Arts Film. Instagram, it's something else. Do you know what Instagram?
I think it's Trash Arts UK as well.
It should be Trash Arts UK. I'm Sam Mason Bell on Twitter and on Facebook. So yeah, you can follow us on those profiles, and the YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe on Trash Arts Productions, not Portsmouth anymore. And yeah, we're hoping to get some more content out on there soon. Yeah,
are you bringing back the podcast?
We're hoping to. I'm still trying to work it out because life doesn't allow you to just go, let's go back to that thing. But fingers crossed.
All right, very cool. Hopefully I'll be on there when you return.
Definitely.
All right. So I can bore everybody.
Not at all.
Well, it's been very fun. I always enjoy talking to all of you.
Same, man. It's always good.
And I always like watching your stuff. And it's actually been fun, honestly, to watch you guys grow as filmmakers over the last few years.
I hope we get to do many more screenings. I'm always up for doing this.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And thanks for staying up late over there.
That's cool.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
I don't know what time you guys normally go to bed. I just assume you stay up late. I don't know.
Just the assumption, right?
Yeah. What is your bedtime, young man? All right, I'm gonna play us out with music from the Music of the Month, Timothy Fife, and then we'll be live Thursday with people from Brooklyn 45. So it'll be very good. Thank you, guys.
See you later. Bye bye.